Hello and welcome to another episode of Cosmic Commentary. Back in the studio for the first time after the pandemic, and the Bundesliga is underway. 3 match days already done. The league's pretty much wrapped up already. The most unfortunate team in Germany, and a charity cup scheduled for 2021. But today's main topic, we go into the mental side of things. We talk about some of the great mental minds of the modern age. Mourinho, Klopp, Guardiola, Conte even. And, of course, Sir Alex Ferguson, as well as Leicester in their title-winning team. So, we hope you enjoy this one, so please sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And we're back for the first time in the studio. We had a false start last night. We almost had a guest, but we had to go again. But glad to be back in the studio, Cos.
No, I'm very happy to be back here. I mean, it's great to be back. Feels more socializing, you know. It's more. It's good to get out of the house. Come back to the studio.
Yeah, it's an excuse to get out of the house, isn't it? Like
it is, and it's just, you know, you don't have to deal with the whole voice delay thing, you know, when you're recording remotely, and it's just good to talk to each other in a sort of well, what's the word? You know, what's the word I'm looking for?
Face to face?
Well, face to face, but no delays. You know,
yeah, no delays.
No internet.
Straight to it.
No internet cutting out. You know when I finish talking. I know when you start talking. You know, things like that.
Yeah. No, well, the I mean, yeah, it's definitely much better. But we have what? How long was it since the last episode? It was what, a week and a half or something like that.
Probably 2 weeks, I would say.
Oh yeah, or close to 2 weeks. And in that time, 3 match days have happened in the Bundesliga.
Yeah, in Germany, yeah, they've started. German
efficiency just churning them out.
Yeah.
And the Polish Cup and the Polish League is going to be starting up soon. The Cup's already started, but so they play some Cup games.
And the Czech League started as well.
Czech League started as well. Korean
started as well.
So everyone's starting to get in.
Yep.
And the Premier League's coming back.
Is it really?
Well, in June, like mid-June, but like it's
they've set a date.
Well, they've set a date.
Yeah.
And they're hoping to hold to that date.
Oh, that's the question.
19th of June, which is about 3 weeks from now. So far, everything's going smoothly. A few of the players are refusing to play or train. Troy Deeney, the main one, the most vocal probably, because he's got his son has health conditions, so he's
the family comes first.
Yeah,
in these situations.
So no issues there.
Yeah.
But overall, it's all an upward trajectory. The numbers from the coronavirus itself are all pretty much going down all across Europe. Even Russia.
Yeah, most countries have passed the peak of infections,
and Italy and Spain are looking in great shape.
Both Italy and Spain are on the mend now.
Yeah, well, Italy has started training again, which is
started training
great.
again. Restaurants are opening again, just not to sit down, but just for deliveries and all that sort of thing. So and cases haven't been going up, which is a very good thing.
The cases are all they've been going down for like a month, so. They were quite high, so it's
extremely
a good
high.
thing
extremely
that
high.
they have been going down for that long. But just every week, the numbers have been decreasing, which is fantastic. Here in Australia, we've been very lucky, and we're grateful for it. And hopefully, the aftermath isn't too severe. But speaking of the aftermath, the three of the biggest clubs of Italy, Spain, and Germany have come together, and this is a plan for the future. So who knows what will happen between now and then. 2021, they want to play in this Solidarity Cup.
Solidarity Cup, yeah. It's going to be 3 matches, 1 in each country.
Yep.
I think it's to raise funds, isn't it, for the victims of the virus, or? Yeah,
well, the plan is to play it when crowds are back. So and part of that deal, they're hoping to give away 5,000 tickets to nurses and healthcare workers to essentially to...
Well, as a thank you gesture
thank
for
you.
a start, because they've been incredible. And the clubs involved, I believe, Inter from Italy.
Yes,
and
Inter Milan. Inter Milan.
Bayern Munich, and Real Madrid.
That's right. And
Yep.
Inter's hosting Bayern.
Yep.
Real is hosting Inter, and then Bayern is hosting Real. I think that's... Yep, that's right. So that's the way that they're supposed to be playing at the big stadiums: Bernabeu Stadium, the Allianz Stadium, and San Siro, obviously.
San Siro, yep.
So, assuming that all goes through, I don't know when that's going to be played. They still don't know because it just depends on when crowds will be able to come back and all those kinds of things. And also, the Euros are meant to be in 2021, so
Yep.
I don't know how that's going to be working. But but they're planning something like that, which is it's nice to be looking into the future like that and thinking, yes, that can happen.
Well, things are starting to come back to normal.
Yeah.
That's what they're sort of planning for, aren't they?
Yeah.
So no, you can clearly see the light at the end of the tunnel now. But obviously we're still in the tunnel, so let's just keep our heads on straight.
Yeah, heads on, and we need to finish at least this season. And the German league's very close to they basically wrapped up the title race.
Yeah,
Bayern
look,
Munich.
Bayern's going to take it out from here.
Yeah, well, they beat Dortmund to stretch the lead out to 7 points, and then Leipzig drew this morning. And
to Hertha Berlin.
And much to my surprise, I realised that Krzysztof Piątek, sorry, he's playing at Hertha Berlin. I wasn't aware of this. I didn't realise Milan had completely lost the plot.
Well, Milan sold him.
Yeah, that's the losing.
He wasn't getting playing time due to
and Zlatan got injured, so
yeah. Well, that's the reason he wasn't
going to work out well for them.
That's the reason he wasn't playing, because Milan did sign Zlatan, and obviously you can't play Piątek over Zlatan.
No,
that's just crazy thoughts.
Unless Zlatan's injured, which he is now. So
well, they'll have to make do with what they have. I mean, they don't have Piątek now, so they'll probably have to play some other striker, I guess. Or
I feel like Zlatan's enough of a force that even if he's crippled and cannot move more than walking pace, he'll
still command a man.
More of an impact than
someone will have to mark him.
Yeah.
He will still.
But in other leagues there was the second Bundesliga. Just thought I'd bring up the situation. They Dynamo Dresden, they got really stuffed over by just fate.
Yeah, and this is a crazy story.
They're in the relegation zone. They're bottom, the rock bottom. I think they were 4 points, or between 4 and 7 points from safety. So not from safety, from the next team.
So they're safely in the bottom spot.
Yeah, they're pretty far away.
They're in danger territory.
Just to add to their misery, a few of their players got the coronavirus.
Yeah.
It's happened in a few places. So they went to quarantine, and they can continue on training. But then they had another spike, so more players and a staff member got the virus as well. From my understanding, they're all doing fine now. But they got a positive result, and the result was that the league decided that entire team would have to go into quarantine. So all their games got postponed. Also means they can't train. Meanwhile, their competitors are all playing games. They're all training. They're all getting match fit. And Dresden is just sort of sitting at home, watching watching Bundesliga.
Look, before the virus happened, obviously they're not a good team to be last. True. And to be quite last, is far away from second last. But obviously now this is just a nail in the coffin. They're going down. I mean, if they're not training, they're not playing.
They're optimistic they can turn it around.
They're not match fit. Well, you got to be. I mean,
they have to be.
What else can you do?
So is Norwich.
But
yeah.
Look, it doesn't bode well for them.
No,
I mean,
it's a tough them. So. And that's from the second league, so they'll have to go.
They're probably going to go down anyway. Let's be real, but this is just making it worse.
Yeah. So all. But I think that they're getting back into action this week. So, so they can start playing without any training
Dynamo
or
Dresden,
match fitness against teams that have already played 3 times. So best of luck to them.
Well, good luck. They might be fresh.
Yeah, they might be fresh
tired,
legs.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say? The Danish. I don't know if this is the top division, but I think they are the top division.
Yeah.
AGF Aarhus from Denmark have innovated, and backing up my comments last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever
The last episode,
where I said we should have a DJ in the stadium just projecting crowd noises throughout the game, and just, obviously in the right moments, you don't cheer when some guy breaks his leg or something like that. You
Unless the DJ goes for the other team.
Yeah.
Then he can do what he wants.
In which case, I mean, realism, I don't know what the fans are like in those different clubs,
Yeah.
But they've got this this thing going on, and cause I welcome you to ask some questions about this, because I don't know how this works myself, but apparently they're getting this screen going around the stadium. So I think this is on the advertising boards.
Right, so it's not the entire
So I don't think
stadium.
it's something they're installing. I think it's something that's already there, and they're basically gonna have the people's voices going in the stadium, so they can actually cheer on their team. And
live? Is it
live? Yeah, while the game's on.
So it's logging in, say like a massive Zoom meeting. Is that what it is? And it's just a live meeting, and they're watching the game.
Yes, yeah. So it's using Zoom apparently,
and they're reacting to the. Look, that could work. That could very well work. Obviously, there could be delays. There could be buffering, which will be funny.
Yeah,
but
can you imagine they score a goal?
It's like,
and then 5 seconds
ding,
later,
and then ding, and then the internet cuts out, and you hear that ding, ding, ding.
Oh yeah, I don't know if they keep the. Can you just imagine? I mean, like, even if there were, let's just say there's 1,000 faces on the screen, right? And 5 of them have like buffering issues, and they're making the ding noises at different times as well. It's gonna be ding, ding, just a different timing.
Yeah. It could sound like you're at some sort of disco music. Ding, 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 ding.
I don't know how much they've sussed that out, but that would be interesting to see how they.
No, well, they'd have to have some sort of control measures as well, because obviously, thousands of fans from the other club can sign on, and then you get.
I think they're special fan ticket season ticket holders or something.
Because you can't have say 2,000 home fans and 10,000 away fans signing up, because then that's just a disadvantage.
Well,
they would have to.
Many.
Yeah, but just as an example, you'd have to have some level of control as to who's signing on to this sort of thing.
Well, my biggest.
But I like the idea.
Yeah, no, I like it.
It's yeah.
I mean, you got to get some atmosphere in there somehow.
You do.
Find new ways to do it, and my biggest concern is at what stage does it go from hearing individual voices saying things and just that sort of crowd noise that you get when people cheer, as opposed to...
I know, you'd probably have to have 20,000 people. 10 to 20,000.
No, you could probably get away with 5,000 people, I'd say. Especially if it's all coming through the same speakers.
If it's coming from the same... Yes, that's different, yeah.
So, you could probably get 1,000 people, to be honest.
Yeah, you're right. If it's coming from
easily.
one place, that's different than the whole stadium where it's coming from different places.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's very different.
We're used to that because in the Australian A-League, often, when it's on TV, you can just hear individuals screaming from side.
Yeah, because there's not many people
no one
going.
there.
Especially in those small market clubs like the Central Coast Mariners.
Yeah,
they don't get much crowds up there.
Yeah, when they're competing with it for other sports, it's just. Yeah.
But what they were doing in the German league about putting people in the stadiums, but mock sort of people, dummies in the stadiums.
FC Köln
they
led the way there. They gave season ticket holders the opportunity to come into the stadium and put the shirts on the chairs
to make it look like people were there.
Yeah,
I mean, if you can combine that with what the Danish club are trying to do, that's probably not bad.
This might lead to a future without having fans at games. Just get fans. You can get more fans in. Think about it. More fans in the stadium. Technically, you can get thousands and millions.
But
of
why
fans.
would people pay a season ticket just to put their shirts there?
Yeah, look,
Like
this plan has not been thought out. But I'm just saying, look, there's potential for a revolution here. And there wouldn't be even a stadium, right? You just have like screens like around. It's kind of like an amphitheater.
What are we becoming? We can't go to the
and you get a view from, like, you got a camera inside the stadium on each seat. You know, so you can see, pretending as if you're in that seat. This is a terrible idea, but you know, like this is the way the future's heading. AI is going to take over, and we're going to be gone. But moving back to the actual Bundesliga and what's been happening, it looks like Bayern's wrapped up the
they're not
title.
They won't lose from here.
There's a big battle for the top four though. There's 5 teams in contention. If you don't include Bayern, there's 4 teams for the last 3 spots. And
yeah, that's true. Well, look, I think Dortmund's clearly the second best team. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Dortmund and Leipzig have a bit of a head start, but it is
Leipzig's
a bit of a mess.
Leipzig's form has not been great lately. I mean, they did win 5-0.
I think they've been a bit unlucky.
But yeah,
this morning they conceded a red card.
Okay. So
and then they managed to take the lead after conceding that red card.
Oh no, look, still a very good team.
And a very fortuitous lead, by the way. He hit the keeper. Well, it was a shot into the keeper, who he got his body behind it. It hit his chest, and the ball was going forward. Then he went to grab it and pushed it back into the goals. So he did all the hard work, and then he just slapped it back into the goals. So
it must have hurt.
Lucky there.
The bang to the chest must have hurt, because then he wasn't thinking right.
Yeah, he must have been winded or something.
Yeah.
But the current situation is Bayer Leverkusen and Mönchengladbach on 53 points apiece. Leipzig 2 points ahead on 55, and Dortmund another 2 points ahead on 57. So Dortmund's got a bit of a buffer to 5th spot, but then there's like a 9-point gap to Wolfsburg. So
it's out of them. It's out of them, really.
Yeah,
but yeah.
Well, I did notice some interesting things. Also, of course, last follow-up from last episode. I put $1 down for every game to draw in the first round. I came back with a positive result. So I got 3 draws, and I made like $2.80 or something like that. Good times. But
the draws pay well.
Yeah, the draws do, especially Leipzig drawing. That got me $5 for that.
Yeah.
So because the bookies haven't caught on to the whole home and away thing not existing anymore. They're not.
That's true. Actually, yeah.
They're still treating it like a team's actually at home, and also Leipzig don't have the best win record at home. They don't lose much, but they draw a lot. But they do that home and away. So Leipzig's just been full of the draws. So just keep putting money on Leipzig to draw, and you'll do well.
Oh yeah.
This is not financial advice. Do not make an investment in putting a draw.
No, look,
unless you're ready
make
to
sure
money.
when you place a bet, right? This is the number 1 rule, that you can afford to lose that money.
Assume you're going to lose.
Assume you're going to lose that money.
Assume you're
Never
gonna
think
lose.
you're going to win. That's the rule. Because then you won't. Then you'll bet responsibly, basically.
And the only exception is in those situations where it's a sure thing. It's guaranteed to not go your way.
There is no such thing as a sure thing.
There's no such thing as a sure thing.
Ever. No matter how much it can look like a sure thing, it's never a sure thing.
But talking about the Bundesliga now, with the EPL coming back soon.
Yep.
Next
month, yeah.
So training's all going well. I thought it'd be worth going into the I guess the mental side of things, because everyone talks about these great teams, and especially when people talk about Liverpool, they talk about how great's this team. I mean, personally, I don't think the players are that I don't think they have many players in the team that are just that good.
So you don't think so just to clarify, I'm not debating, it's a clarification.
Yeah.
You're saying that Liverpool, the players, are not as far ahead of the rest of the pack as what everyone thinks, or as it seems.
In terms of skill, yeah.
In terms of skill,
definitely. Although they do have some, they do have a very good, makeup of they just complement each other very well, which is.
Oh well, that's it. They're a very good team.
But I mean, really, looking at it, the midfield is.
But you're saying not much has to go wrong for them to fall right back in the middle.
Oh no, I wouldn't say that because
not in the middle of the pack, but like very close to the rest.
Well,
of the league.
Yes, but they've got this mental side of things.
Well, that's what we're going to talk about.
And yeah, the mental side of things, I think, is the biggest thing that they've got ahead of everybody else. And I have to say, this really reminds me of Ferguson's United sides. Like they were worse team, arguably worse teams. It's hard to say.
Well, not every season, but there was a couple of seasons where you thought this United team isn't that great. But
especially near the end.
But then they just won the league.
In a canter.
In a canter, yeah. And how did they do this? They didn't play well, yet they've won. And they just keep winning like...
Dominated.
Yeah.
Even the season where they were in a title race with Liverpool, which hasn't happened pretty much since the 70s. But
that was the one with Torres dominating...
Yeah, Torres and Gerrard up front for Liverpool and Benitez at the helm. And
Xabi Alonso was there. Yeah, that was a good team.
Berbatov was playing for United then with Rooney.
And Ronaldo was there?
Ronaldo was still there.
Yeah,
that was his last season.
Yeah.
Of course, he had to go off on a high.
Oh, yeah. Ronaldo. Yeah.
But, the mental side of things. And I also wanted to bring up a different sport. Good old Tigers of Richmond in...
in recent times, the Tigers, they've been actually very big on the mental side of the game. Because it's not spoken about as much. When we think of these great teams creating dynasties and all that sort of thing, we talk about how great the players are. You got to have good players to win consistently. Oh, yeah. But what also goes into that is the mental side of the game, and a lot of the that can be the difference between a team that consistently wins to a team that wins one season and doesn't win consistently in the future.
On what you just said, then I mean, I would say the mental side is consistency. That's almost entirely the mental side. It's the good players is what then gets you over the line in those really those coin flip games.
Yeah, those tight games. Those good players make a difference.
They can pull something out of nothing.
Yeah.
The Dusty Martins,
Well, it's Dustin Martin stands out in that regard.
Literally stands out. He's 7 foot.
He's a match winner. He's a match winner.
And a giant.
He's a big game player. Yeah.
And he's a big player.
Yeah, he's a bull. Well. He's a brute. He's very hard to tackle.
Big guy. He almost doesn't look human, but he's just got some sort of ant DNA in him.
And he's never injured. That's the other thing. He just never gets injured. He's a freak of nature. But
moving that to the say the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
Like this Liverpool side, for example. The another thing is Pep Guardiola, right?
Yeah, he's got it. They've got it as well. Yeah.
I mean those three are the greatest examples that come to mind. And I guess if you want to throw another a bull into the ring, then Jose Mourinho as well. Like his top side, it's again a different kind of mentality. All needed to just string win after win after win. Because Mourinho had the record in the Premier League for the most points. Before this crazy Manchester City side came in with 95 points, and that stood for a good 10, 12 years or something like that. No one came.
And it was still incredible. I mean, 95 points.
I don't think anyone got past 90 before him.
Yeah, no, it was incredible up until, what he was able to do.
Yeah, and then this Guardiola side, like that, I don't think anyone had gotten, like, in between.
Well, they got over 100.
Yeah, well, they got over 100. So they got 100.
They got 100, so still, that's incredible.
And that was with the last 20-odd points won with nothing to play for. So
nothing to play for, and then the season after, they got 98. Another incredible season with Liverpool finishing on 97.
And also, Mourinho against Pep Guardiola in La Liga got the record points with Real Madrid.
Yeah.
That's what was needed to beat Pep Guardiola's team.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. And that's not just having great players every game. That's a mental focus to approach the game in a winning way and not deviate from that.
Yeah.
So and it's
actually and another thing that is really key, especially for these clubs, is it's a reference to a type of, what would you call it, philosophy?
It is a philosophy, 100%. It's a philosophy.
Without going into the airy fairy kind of thing.
Just to note before we talk about it, I'm not sure they actually
mention
the philosophy,
this is
but it's implementing...
It's using principles from
that philosophy.
Yeah, from the philosophy of Stoicism. I'm not sure if anybody's heard of it or actually knows what it is.
Stoicism, yeah. Stoicism.
Because I hear it used a lot, like, oh, that was stoic, but I never knew what it meant. Like,
yeah, until we actually researched into it.
Yeah, but it's essentially, it includes, among other things, basically not worrying about things that are out of your control.
Exactly.
And that's one thing that these sides do so well. I mean, Manchester United, under Ferguson, so many times they started off with because they'd won the season before, because they did that all the time.
Yeah.
They'd have the title hangover, where they get like 1 point from the first 3 games or something stupid, or like, I don't know, in the first 5 games they had like 5 points or something like that, including that season that I was talking about when they were fighting with Liverpool for the title. That was the season where Liverpool, Chelsea and Hull City were off to a flyer.
Hull City, that was incredible.
That was great. That was a good 10 games. They were equal first, I think,
when they went to the Emirates and beat Arsenal. Anyway,
and they went to Anfield and drew 2-2.
Somehow they pulled that off.
It was 2-2 after, I think, 20-something minutes, and then it just stayed like that for the rest of the game.
But Liverpool should have scored about 20 goals.
But in that season, Hull City, Liverpool and Chelsea were flying at the top, and Manchester United, one of the worst starts of the season. Liverpool had beaten them in the first 5 games at home with like a 2-1 win. But, they're just quietly going away. They went on a 14-game streak where they did not concede a goal.
Yeah.
Midway through the season, and halfway through that, they took the lead. And in that time, obviously, the other teams, Liverpool, Chelsea, and Hull dropped lots of points. They were relegation form by the end of the season. But they do it consistently. They don't care about what everyone else is doing. Whereas the mistake that a lot of clubs do, especially when they're not experienced in title races, they're looking at the other team. Tottenham, great example of that.
Yeah, Tottenham did that recently.
If they're not behind, then they don't have that motivation.
The thing is, when you're a big club and you're expected to win titles, and that's your expectation, the pressure can build, and it can build very quickly. And what Stoicism essentially does is that it keeps you away from that pressure, and it only tells you to focus on what you can do,
amongst other things.
But and for United to start the season that slowly, the only way to come back is just to take it one game at a time.
Yeah, forget the rest,
and just focus on what you do well.
And you hear Jurgen Klopp saying that now
about Liverpool, because if United that season started worrying about the pressure and trying to catch up to all the other clubs, hoping the other clubs will drop points, if they're focusing on that, as even partly focusing on that, they're not going to win the games required to come back to give themselves a chance of winning the league.
Yeah, because the energy's going towards a game that they're not even
playing. And it's going somewhere else. Yeah, the energy's focused somewhere else to where it needs to be.
And I love what you say there about we're not caring about anybody. Actually, I lost my chain of thought, but yeah, Jurgen Klopp, every game he talks about, the only game that's important to us is the next game. The next game is a Champions League final. Every game is a final,
That's it.
And a lot of people say that, but don't actually follow through with it. They'll say,
and doing
we're just worried about the next game, but you can tell.
They're thinking about the game. And that's the thing. Saying it and doing it are two very different things. It's hard to implement. It's not easy, and it takes time to really get your minds across it and get the team to buy into that. It's very hard to do. But once it's bought and the team know what they're doing, they'll be successful.
There's another thing about that is that you find that teams, especially in several competitions, they'll be doing much better in one competition than another because they're just mentally in that competition, right? Like especially the clubs that are sort of they have a cup run.
Yeah, the cup run's a good example.
They're fighting with relegation, in the league. They'll play against the exact same team, and then they'll just be abysmal.
And that's emotionally It's like a release to play in the cup because they're not worried about relegation.
But also,
essentially, isn't it?
I feel like they're mentally in like that cup. When they go back to the league, they're still in the cup, right? Because the cup's going well.
Either they're still in the cup or they're feeling the pressure of the relegation. Because that's another thing.
Probably both.
Yeah, a bit of both. I'd say.
But I've found that clubs will generally not when they're not at the top. Like for example, this Manchester City team under Pep Guardiola, just insane. Like the treble, the domestic treble. Everyone's just like, oh, ha, ha. No one's done it before, right? They won the League Cup and the FA Cup and the league by a point.
No, it's incredible. It's incredible.
But so many clubs would, especially them, like
you've got two stoic clubs in the Premier League right now.
Well,
in all seriousness, because Liverpool challenged right to the end.
Well, I wouldn't call it stoic, but definitely stoic principles
are in these teams. Yeah, that's more accurate because Liverpool at the end, even Klopp was saying,
because they're different.
We can't control what Man City do. All we can do is win our games and just enjoy it.
And when they did,
and they won right to the end and to finish on 97 points.
How ridiculous does it have to be for?
And they forced City, and City earned that title. They made City earn that title, and that's what you want. That's what you want.
How ridiculous does it need to be when a team wins the last 11 games, but it wasn't enough?
It wasn't enough to.
Well, at the start of that 11-game streak, they were 1 point behind.
And by the end, they were still 1 point behind. It's incredible. That is elite football.
It's just,
and like we said, that takes more than good players. You got to be mentally strong to focus for that long to win those games.
Mm.
And I think it's not spoken about enough, and it's really underrated.
I like looking at the contrast between, say, this Liverpool team, Guardiola, all Guardiola's teams, Mourinho's teams, and then Alex Ferguson's teams, right?
Yeah.
Like Alex Ferguson's teams also had the arrogance of we're just gonna win, you know. They like the way they carried on with the referees and things like that. They had a sense of entitlement to them, you know, that if there was something going wrong, the other people were doing something. You know what I mean? It's like, what? This can't be happening because we're Manchester United. You know, this doesn't happen to us. And
it's almost intimidating the referee, basically,
and the crowd. But they
actually, just on a side note, Alex Ferguson did admire Marcello Lippi, the Italian coach, and before he went to Man United, he modelled United's game off of Marcello Lippi.
Tell me about Lippi. What's his?
So Lippi's obviously an Italian football coach.
He was the 06 coach.
He was the 06 coach that won the World Cup with Italy.
Yeah.
But he did manage Juventus at the time, and Juventus in 90s...
Wait, he both of them at the same time?
Of course not.
Okay.
In the 90s, he managed Juventus.
Okay. Oh, at the time that Ferguson...
came to United and modelled
right.
United after Juventus. So I was
Continue.
sort of thinking maybe that referee idea sort of came from Lippi, but anyway, just to intimidate the referee.
Was Lippi a referee intimidator, or
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he was, but just the Italian thing, because the Italians are all over the referees. So
always.
He would have. I'm reckon maybe he picked up something from.
Take any advantage you can get. You know?
Yeah.
The mind games were the best though, because Ferguson insists that he didn't play mind games. I think that in itself was a mind game.
That in itself, yeah.
But to be fair on him, I kind of believe that because the way he approached the mind games, he didn't care what was going on in other people's heads. He just said things, and then whatever happened to however he poisoned the other minds, it didn't matter to him. He's just like, oh well, maybe they should do it. And then he'd forget about what he said.
So you're saying it was all natural? It's just him being. It was Sir Alex being.
I
Sir
think
Alex.
that Alex Ferguson just spoke his mind, and when you speak your mind, you say a lot of stupid things, right?
You do. You say a lot of good things. You say a lot of silly things at the time. Yeah.
I think he was basically just saying, whatever's playing on his mind with huge bias.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Just make it whatever's possible to make it seem like the against Newcastle, 1995-96, when they made that charge for the title, then they failed after having a 12-point gap.
What did he say?
Ferguson. This was in the last couple games. He said that Nottingham Forest I don't know, that they've got ties with Newcastle, and that they'll probably give Manchester United a harder game than they're going to give Newcastle. As in, essentially, they're going to go easy on Newcastle.
Were Nottingham still in the league at that time? The top
What?
four, Nottingham Forest.
So Newcastle, yeah, Nottingham Forest, I think we're in the league.
Oh, okay.
So,
right. So yeah. So that's just.
So, but what happened was,
Yeah, I can see why that's.
But
you know,
but
he's just speaking his
But
mind.
as soon as you look at the facts, right?
Yeah.
United beat them 5-0. Okay. And they were playing Newcastle next.
He kind of It's
and
kind
then
of,
Newcastle drew with Nottingham
It's
Forest.
kind of Donald Trump like a bit, isn't it? In terms of just saying stuff.
Imagine
randomly.
Ferguson on a Twitter feed. That would just be mayhem. Just, oh yeah, I think this, and that, and blah blah blah, and pointing the finger and stuff. Like, but honestly, how can you say with a straight face, oh yeah, Nottingham Forest played really hard against us. They lost 5-0, but they played really hard against us, and they're going to take it easy on Newcastle. How does that register as in any way potentially
it's almost
factual?
he's just a conspiracy, like mistrusting person. It's just like, oh,
but
yeah.
he doesn't follow
gonna...
through with it. He just lets it go. Like, he just says something and then just goes.
And then everyone reacts to it.
Well, he's Scottish, so he's passionate. He gets he'll let his temper get away with him sometimes. he would say in an interview, someone said something bad about Manchester United, or one of his players said a question that he didn't like, and then he sort of whispers to his guys, like, who's the name of this guy? Oh, it's whatever. Don't let him back next time. Tell him, like, this is his last interview. Like he just like wouldn't take anything. And he didn't let players take over the dressing room. Like, he'd always get rid of players before they became too big for the club. No.
Well, that was another thing. Yeah, it was very team oriented, and if you, as soon as you became bigger than the club, you were gone.
Yeah.
Because that is actually team. That destabilizes the team.
Yeah.
If you have players like that, so.
But at the same time, I mean, he got rid of some
big names. I mean, Roy Keane and David Beckham were
and like
two big
you
names
could
to go.
spend a bit of time, tempering their egos a bit.
Well, he didn't get rid of them straight away. You can't, because they're really good players, but in the end he ultimately did.
No, I think he got rid of them pretty quickly.
Was it in the end? Oh, okay.
It
didn't affect the
team. It's
team.
not like they said something and he sent them off, but
but it didn't affect their results. They kept winning even without them. So here they.
This mentality though, right? This whole sort of the world is against us kind of thing, and like he really really hit that home.
And that can unify a team or or divide a team. It depends how you react to that. But
and now, in contrast to Pep Guardiola and Jose Mourinho, right, who both have this intense, super, I'm going to sap all the life I can out of you to implement, like our way of playing and that kind of thing. Mourinho with his, just to a point where players would be taught to essentially defend to mental exhaustion. The concentration levels.
That's right. It's a bit like an Antonio Conte as well. Sort of similar in that respect, that how hard he makes his team work.
Yeah,
and the tactics they implement. They've got to be inch perfect with their positioning, with everything, and that takes a lot of mental energy.
And then Pep Guardiola, who seems like complete contrast to him. He's like, oh, this guy's attacking. Mourinho's defensive, but Guardiola basically the same. But the way Pep Guardiola defends is by holding the ball.
With the ball, yeah.
And everything has to be perfect. And if it's not perfect, then you get what happened in the first season that Pep Guardiola was at the club. And starting to see a few of it this season as well. In games where the team just capitulates, like against Leicester, I think it was, and Everton, teams like that, where they lost 4-0.
Yeah, they'll lose a random game. They can dominate a game
by a lot
and concede goals.
Just get decimated.
Like
because
the Norwich game was insane. Like, no one expected them to win. And they did. And that's just the sort of game City throw in sometimes. It's just...
when they're a bit off.
When they're a bit off,
obviously.
When they're on, forget it.
The 2 seasons before that, in between those 2 seasons, so last season, the season before.
They were incredible.
Like clockwork, basically.
Yeah, incredible performances.
Not clockwork. But, and obviously Mourinho had the same thing, but the downside to Mourinho's way of playing is that some see it as boring football, and if people aren't on board with the philosophy, then if they don't understand it, then they're going to get fed up with it at some stage and say, "Nah, this is stupid." And
Well, I think if the appeal is boring, like in the sense that the style of play is boring, you got to win to keep fans on your side.
yeah, well, not just the fans, but the players.
Or even the players, yeah.
Like, who wants to play in a team?
It's harder to keep players from, if they're not having fun but they're winning, then they can tolerate it.
It's like, well, but I think you're looking at it slightly differently. I think the players need to find winning the most fun part. That's what you need. So they shouldn't be mutually exclusive. It shouldn't be you're either having fun.
Oh no, definitely not.
Oh, sorry, I mean
definitely not.
I mean they shouldn't be separate. Like, because like the Italian teams especially, like.
But they're brought up differently, Mike.
Well, the Italians. But that's what I mean.
From a young age, they're taught that defense is like the king of how to win, basically.
It's a discipline thing, though. It's not...
And they're proud of it.
Yeah.
They're taught to be proud of defending. It's like, I'm not conceding and being that rugged defensive type team.
But it's pride in the discipline as well, right?
And the positioning, and then attacking, but attacking efficiently.
Yeah.
Like going forward and taking your chances to score.
Exactly.
That's how they're taught to play.
Yeah, they take a huge pride out of that, and having those kind of players in a team, right? And then try having Mourinho, even when he was at Real Madrid, right, where there's more of we're superstars, but he still managed to get them playing really well.
I'm not sure. I've got a question with that. I'm not sure if you know the answer. At Real Madrid, and did all the star players at Real Madrid love Mourinho after he left?
No.
Because at Inter, all the players loved him.
Yeah.
Every player loved him.
They speak so highly of him.
And he's even today, like the players that played under Mourinho at Inter.
To be fair, they fell apart after he left. So.
Yeah, they did. He was irreplaceable at Inter. And maybe part of that is that the defensive way of playing in Italy. It just resonated with the players.
But also
it could be something in there.
You know, the dedication to it. Because Rafa came after him.
Yeah, Rafa was after him.
And he's not an attack. He's defensive.
He's defensive as well. But yeah.
But he didn't. I don't think he inspired them quite like Mourinho did, because he wants them to sweat blood and tears, whereas Benitez is a bit more robotic in his. He's less human. Sometimes I wonder if it's just like a little guy in a robot suit, just controlling him and telling people.
Interesting character.
I remember, I think Torres was saying something along the lines of he had a chat, he was talking to Benitez after a game or something. He's like, it's my son's birthday today. He's like, oh yeah, cool. So in the next game, I want you to do. He started talking tactics, and he said that's just who he was, So like, I'm not, I got no issues, but the guy just wasn't human, So
he's so focused on his football, he can't.
Although he does have that emotional side of him,
course,
too,
we all do.
Because he really resonated with the Liverpool fans, and they But it's just funny how the contrasting things are, and last of all we get to Klopp, right?
Yeah.
Who's different again, right? He's got the intensity, right? So he's got the intensity of both Guardiola, Mourinho, and I assume Ferguson had the intensity too, and definitely Conte's got that intensity. You just love seeing these guys on the sidelines. Going at it.
Conte and Klopp have been probably two of my favourites on the sidelines. The way they carry on.
And Mourinho is not too bad too. Going from joy to...
Well, that was actually, that moment was probably the funniest thing I've seen on the sidelines. As good as Klopp and Conte are, that probably takes the cake.
And you look at Klopp, and he's got that, getting the team unity thing going as well, just like Ferguson, getting everyone to be really on the same page. He did the same thing in terms of getting rid of players that weren't fully committed to the team. If players
not being a good influence in the locker room as well, just like dividing the team, putting a negative sort of morale into the team. That's damaging.
Yeah,
that's very damaging. So and he got rid of some big names, like Coutinho left, and
Coutinho left because he wanted to go to Barcelona. He said, "Look, we want to have you, but."
But the thing is,
he stayed for half a year and said, "Okay."
His heart was not at Liverpool.
Yeah,
that was the key.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, well, yeah, his heart was at as a lot of these
You know.
South American players, they love going to Spain.
Yeah.
It's
fair
just-
enough. That's
yeah,
not
it's
a critique on Coutinho. That's just where he wanted to
it's
be.
like, I came to Liverpool in the hope to get a transfer to Real Madrid or Barca. That's pretty much the approach. Suarez did the same thing, but yeah, they gave him an opportunity. So Coutinho was a bit different, but like Sarko, for example, he was one of our stronger defenders, and people were saying, "Oh, we need him. You know, like he's our best defender. Why?" And he completely shut him out of the team because of some disciplinary issues. He wasn't. He didn't rock up to a training session or something.
That's setting the culture of what you expect. You know, that's something that takes more than a performance. Like, you're a good player, but you're not a good leader. You're not a good moral person to look up to for the younger players or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, that sets the culture of the club. That's what he's done.
And he gives people an opportunity as well to show themselves.
Yeah.
And he really rewards training with game time, because there's a lot of players. You look at the and for the first couple of years, it was like constantly, why is he playing? Why is he starting over this guy? Like this guy who under Rodgers had done well, Sturridge maybe or something like that as an example, but you're seeing these players which just because we only see when they play.
Yeah,
right?
well, that's
all we know.
Point. That's a good point. The fans only see when
and
the
then
team's playing.
Out comes Henderson, Wijnaldum, and Milner. It's like what about the other guys that are these flair players? Emre Can and then was Coutinho. I mean, Coutinho would have played on the wing anyway, but I'm saying like there were other midfield options which seemed more...
like what happened to that? He played well in the last game. What's going on?
And it's like, why isn't he giving him a shot? And it's pretty much always training basically, and that's and it just comes through.
Even then, that sets that again sets the culture. You've got to train well,
and he sticks to it too. Yeah. So a lot of managers go, oh, well.
And that's the thing, some short-term pain for long-term gain.
Yeah, a lot of short-term pain for a lot of long-term gain.
Yeah.
Good investor, that guy.
Yeah.
It's
not easy to do. Yeah.
No. But in terms of players and, in footballing terms, stock market, maybe good at betting too. Well, yeah. But, yeah. No, but...
Well, Liverpool's stock's through the roof right now.
Definitely through the roof. And then they might finally get a chance to clinch the title in the next month or so, by the end of June, hopefully.
They need 4 more points, and City have to win every game pretty much. So, it's highly unlikely.
It's possible that Liverpool doesn't even have to. Well, they win one game and Man City drop points. It's done.
Yeah. No, look, they can't lose it from here. Jeez.
But it's more about getting it done before there's another spike in coronavirus positive cases. So there's that thing about too. Germany's done well so far though, so fingers crossed that it continue. But just before we wrap this up, I thought we could quick look at the other end of the scale.
Yeah.
When you look at those managers that, sometimes they'll have a good start or something, and then the next season or after a few seasons it just all falls apart. Those managers that they come from another league where they've done well, like Emery, for example. He had some great success. Obviously, PSG are expected to win, but they he still won there. Sevilla, he has some great success in turning them to 3 times Europa League, 3 consecutive seasons.
The guy can coach. There's no doubt about it.
That's pretty special, I'd have to say.
Yeah.
And then you get those coaches who, Pochettino, for example, under Tottenham, or Tottenham under Pochettino rather.
Yeah.
How they're always there but not quite there, and just going back to that point we were saying before about not looking at everybody around you. For me, Tottenham always looked like a team that was looking at the team that they were chasing, because in one season they were chasing Leicester, which was funny. The other season they were chasing Chelsea, Conte's Chelsea.
Well, that's the thing. In that season when Leicester won the league and Tottenham were were pretty much the challenger in that season. In that game against Chelsea, where they drew, was it at Stamford Bridge or something? And Chelsea probably played their best game for the season in that game, and the Tottenham players visibly got upset and started potentially. I think they were actually fighting the Chelsea players in that game. It got pretty heated, and that's just an example of where their energies were. In that they weren't focused on the job, they were focused more on why are you guys playing well today and not.
Yeah, because they got obliterated by Leicester.
Yeah,
and then
and essentially, so it's just like, what are you doing? But that's not how it works. And essentially, they weren't focusing on what they could control. They focused.
Was that when Chelsea was just sitting back and?
No, I believe it was. They finished 2-2 in that game or something. Or
right,
Tottenham took an early lead and Chelsea came back. But I think that was the game when Hazard was playing and he hadn't played well the whole season. He was injured. And in that game, he came back and he sort of dominated. And
it's Hazard.
It's Hazard. So it was Chelsea's best game, basically. But
actually, Leicester's worth a mention too. And it's funny, that Leicester team...
Yeah, that could have crumbled easily.
Was incredibly stoic in their approach.
Yeah, that could have crumbled very easily. But then again, the pressure's not on them to win. So really...
It doesn't matter, though, because the pressure was on them by the end. That's the thing. And they kept winning.
Yeah, and the whole world was watching them, so it was a different... They still were under pressure.
And they kept winning.
You're right, and they kept winning.
And
they won. They won with 81 points. It wasn't like
they won with like 8 points. It was like 3 games.
But they got over 80 points, so that's like Champions level. Like before the hundreds came in.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Recently, but
they kept going, because that's the thing.
Yeah,
they could have easily crumbled, but they just kept doing their thing, and they didn't. And there were a few results that didn't go their way, and then because I remember you and I were watching this and we were thinking, all right, when's it going to happen? You know, we're just counting. Like,
at first, no, because I started saying like, oh no, Leicester's going all the way, just as a joke. Leicester's going all the way, just to piss you off a little bit. But then when they went to White Hart Lane, and they won 1-0.
Well, that's when we sort of looked at.
That's
it
when
went,
we both sort of
like, this is when they're going to slip.
Yeah, and then
they won.
I'm like, whoa,
and they're like,
whoa,
that wasn't meant to happen.
That's something's off here.
But even then, we're like, okay, now they could win it. You know, it wasn't they're gonna win it.
And then not long after, they played City,
and they beat them
Man City,
and they beat them.
And I'm like, all right, look, if they win this, they're gonna win. If they win this game, they're gonna win, and they won 3-1.
Yeah, and they won that, and then they're gonna win. You know, like that was the first time.
Yeah.
It was in April, I think.
Yeah,
they're gonna win.
No, they've got it. Like
it wasn't even but I think they in between that or somewhere in that area they had a result that didn't go their way. They got I think it was a draw or something against a weak team.
I think it was against Villa, maybe, or
I don't think they lost.
They didn't lose. They lost to Arsenal.
But I think they might have drawn 2 games. I think they drew 2 games in quick succession.
One was West Ham. West Ham was one of them.
Which they weren't supposed to lose.
Definitely one of them, yeah.
And then a lot of teams at that stage go, oh no, they start doubting themselves.
Yeah.
They had full belief in themselves. The players were full of confidence for no reason, by the way. Absolutely no reason.
They responded to those draws and they got back to winning ways.
Yeah, they didn't respond to that's the thing. They didn't respond to the draws. They just went in spite of the draws.
Yeah, I keep thinking of response, but no, they just went on. They just kept going. It's like, well, move on to the next.
It's like
don't worry about the last game. We can control the next game, and that's the principle behind it.
And do you know where that came from? From my understanding, anyway. In the previous season, when they were fighting relegation, right? It just got to the stage where they were, they pulled off one of the great escapes. So they were 20th in Christmas, I think. So they were last.
And last by a significant margin.
And then they said, they made a few signings and stuff like that. And the manager at the time, who is now managing Watford, tried to pull them out of it. Got into them and said, "All right, we got this far. I don't think we've been playing bad or that much, but now it's just we do what we can. Just win the next game. Just win the next game. It became that mentality.
It's just like let's just start winning, boys.
And basically, it wasn't that. It was just like let's just focus on winning the next game. It wasn't. We need to win the next game.
No, let's just start winning. Who cares? Let's just play.
So they basically
don't worry about it. It's just that don't worry. It's almost a don't worry attitude.
It wasn't. But that's the thing. It wasn't don't worry. It was, look, focus. That's what it was. It was a bit of don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about everything else.
Yeah.
This is all you need.
Just do this. Forget about everything else.
All you have.
Yeah.
The next game.
Yeah.
Win that. And they did that for the second half of the season, basically.
And they carried it on to the next season.
They were flying by the end of it. They got into 14th place. They were, I think, 12 clear of the relegation zone. They were just... I think they were in the top 3 teams in the whole league for the second half of the season.
Yeah, from that thing, yeah.
And they just continued into next year.
They just went on with it.
And
They just went on. That's what I thought.
That mentality, and they didn't have any European football to contend with. They got out of the cups early, as you do when you're going for the title. You just get rid of the cups, like Liverpool did this season. They went a bit deeper actually, but yeah, and they just kept going. They kept going, and they won the league. So no, that was just something out of this world, and I'm a better person for having lived through that. To be honest,
yeah, we both are. From what we've seen, yeah,
that was incredible. So I'm really glad to have gone through that. But yeah, cause unless you got something to add, I think we'll wrap up here.
No, not much to add in terms of European football in that respect. Other examples in the NBA is the San Antonio Spurs. Over the years, they've been incredibly with these principles of just winning consistently over a number of years, and that's just for if any Americans are listening, that's the team to look for if you want to.
I was also thinking of was it Oakland A's.
The Oakland A's. Well, that's
Moneyball.
That's the Moneyball aspect of it.
That's another great example of when they were in that 20-game winning
streak. Yeah.
I mean, I just watched the movie. I didn't.
Well, they didn't go on to win any sort of World Series or anything like that.
To go on it's an all-time record. So like to go on a record like that, is just like this Liverpool team to win that many games in a row.
Yeah,
it is. You don't get there without the mentality. Like that is just. You could pull off incredible things with the mentality. Leicester's team was not like full of they good players, but not full of. Jamie Vardy was their star.
Yeah, well, essentially that's what you to create a dynasty. You need star players, but you also need both. You need both, but
they didn't. Their stars are not. There's
no. You can win, but you're not going to win consistently.
But that's what I'm. Yeah, with the players that they had. They just focus on their strengths. They did what they do best. Same with these Liverpool's team. That's I guess what I was saying before.
Yeah.
I don't think any player here is sort of going to rival Messi or Ronaldo anytime soon. But
yeah, of course.
But they all do their bit.
Yeah, 100%. You could almost argue Leicester still have those principles today because they're still third in the table.
Yeah.
So, they've got what it takes to be, one of the better teams in England for the considerable future.
And they're getting the backing. So it's going to be interesting looking forward to see what kind of mentality monsters we'll have coming up in the Premier League, if any, to join Liverpool.
It's just
and
good to talk about the mental side of the game because I think it's undervalued. It's not spoken about as much, and it's a really huge thing as to what creates success going forward.
The key factor for the best dynasties that we've seen in football.
Or in any sport, yeah.
So, I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that. And I have just put up a new video on YouTube. So
a solo effort.
Yeah, solo effort. It's just me. But tactics. It's a tactics series that I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be going into more. So that there'll be more of that coming up. And we are preparing some videos finally.
A new series will be coming.
Popular demand.
Soon. Yep.
Where we're going to help people essentially pick their teams in football.
From any league, focus on England, but from any league, and those will be coming out in the coming months. Yeah,
so if you're sort of struggling if you don't have a side and you're thinking of picking one, definitely keep an eye out for that one. There's going to be we've got like 20 of those lined up, and there'll be more. So just short videos you can watch in not too much time. And so thanks for listening up to this point, and we will speak to you next time.
Talk to you then.